I can indeed. Cool. And Tom, thank you very much. Um, uh, my introduction is always brief. I've been in IT so long, I have very little hair left, and that I do is grey. Um, yeah, so I'm a fractional CTO by trade. I have sat on led companies, well, on the board of companies from startups through to listed entities with a focus on financial services. And yep, I spend most of my time these days helping startup or small businesses make the right tech decisions. It's quite easy actually. Test your product. So you don't have to build it. You can go have conversations about whether it's viable or not, and choose people who are prospective customers, and then don't jump into anything without having some sort of technical guidance. Um, and specifically not the person who's doing the build for you. Have someone who's able to, take a 30,000-foot view of the decisions that you're making or the recommendations that are provided to you, and listen, don't listen, but at least you'll have some guidance that it can point you in the right direction.
I think I can talk, but I'm not sure if you can hear me. Perfect. Okay. Sure. So my name is Mario Tomic. I'm Croatian living in Spain. I work as a fractional CTO for non-technical founders, for startups and scale-ups, help them also make tech decisions, manage their teams, fire people, grow their product, and just help them with all challenges they face when they as non-technical founders need to navigate technology landscape. And for do's and don'ts, I think the bigger don't expect it's gonna be quick, it's gonna be cheap. Technology is still expensive to build. Software is expensive to build, expensive to run. Even it's cheaper than ever before, and easier than ever before, but it's still sizable investment to get anything out. And whatever you think it's gonna take more time, it's gonna take more money, and there's just reality of where we are at the moment. But overall, I think you shouldn't be afraid of technology. Technology is awesome, and I think most of startups they're not gonna fail because of technology. They're gonna fail because of lack of traction. So technology is rarely a problem. It's not a trivial problem to solve, but it's rarely the biggest problem to solve and biggest challenge to solve in a path to your success. Okay. Yeah, so it's a really good product question. So from my perspective, like, should we build one thing or should we build 100 things? And the answer is always you should build one thing, but just because you probably cannot build 100 things, right? Unless there is a huge budget and everything. But we assume, and most of people listening to us, they're not going to have unlimited budget and unlimited opportunities. So you always have to build one thing. Now, each product, think for example Discord, right? They started as let's chat when we play games, right? And they pivoted away to the level that some people dropping Slack and go to Discord because it's free and offers pretty much the same thing as Slack does for company communications, right? So you start with one thing, you solve the problem, and then kind of branch out in pursuing for more users, right? But that first thing has to be a problem that you can really solve it, and it has to work for those initial set of users. So I think the answer to this one, should we build something specific versus something general? I think something specific, and what that is, well, nobody can really tell you, and that's where founder unique perspective and unique understanding of the market comes into play. So they can see, okay, there is this problem, then the rest of us, we cannot ever see it because we don't know anything about cybersecurity, anything about those like specific details on what they can offer in this market. So that's my take on it. What are the implications? Development time, market entry, and customer acquisition. Of course, like the more narrow you go, acquisition will be easier because they're going to be less competitive. If you go too narrow, then you went too narrow, and there's only one person in the world who needs it, right? But there's a lot of books and a lot of resources discussing this topic, so it's not a new one.
I mean, I'll be a little bit more brutal. And hi, Mary, the wisest one amongst us has arrived. I think you've got to start with kind of a customer or a market scan here. I mean, I agree 100% with Maury. You're going to start with one thing with the mind of being able to expand that to multiple related services or allied services over time. So you need to think about that at the start. But it sounds like this person is looking for their business plan to be written for them. I'd go out. You need to test the market. You need to have the conversation with possible customers. See what sort of problems they're having. What the pain is, and then sell to the pain and solve those problems.
Sure. So first of all, sincere apologies for being late, folks. I got pulled into an incident and just lost track of time dealing with something on that side. I'm Mary Williams. I'm the CTO at Pleo. I was previously CTO at Monzo, is probably the thing I'm best known for. And I'm also the chair of Lead Dev, which is a technology leadership conference that runs in the UK and Germany and the US. And yeah, delighted to be here. I can't see the question that was asked, so if you could repeat it, Anton, that would be great. Yes, I just echo what I heard being said as I joined, which is, get specific first, get really clear customer input and feedback, and build something that will be genuinely useful to your first customers, and then build from there. I think that trying to build a generic thing that's useful to everybody and everything takes too long, and you don't get the benefit of getting a minimum viable product together and getting the feedback and the usage faster. But yeah, nothing really to add to what was already said. Simon, you're on mute if you're talking.
Thank you. The siren call of the internet, you're on mute. I'm going to say that's probably a growth question. But I suppose the takeaway is, if they're not growing their user base, they need to maybe look within and see if the what they've built is not delivering on expectation. So is it easy to use, or does it deliver the outcomes that users are looking for? I mean, most users are notoriously bad for giving feedback unless it benefits them directly. So yeah, I would think probably need to spend some money on marketing, or widen your audience.
Yeah, I'd echo that. It feels like either I would go deeper with those customers who are active and see what is useful for them, and try to prioritize building the things that they most want next. And then that might be more of a evolution rather than a pivot.
I mean, this is chilling when you see, like, okay, there's some interest and then it's raining, right? So that means they generated some buzz, and that people start using it, and then it's not working for them anymore. For those who drop out, so obviously it's not working for them, right? So this is a product problem. So the founder needs to realize, okay, why those guys are dropping. Maybe that's I had clients, they had 6 months of lifetime value, lifetime of customer, 6 months, right? And that's what, like, they couldn't increase. They increased it for a month doing this and that. But some products are just you need it once, and then maybe you need it to solve a problem that's very fixed, and then you churn. and they're just life, right? So some products are like that, and then you need to acknowledge that and realize, okay, cool, my product is of a kind that people stay 6 months or 3 months or 7 days or whatever, and then I need to see is there acquisition strategy that can support that kind of product. I mean, not everywhere people stay for years, right? I have a product, I have a client that 10 years old, and they still have clients from first day. Not a lot, but some, right? And that's how they operate. So and maybe this founder needs to getting better understanding of okay, the problem we're solving, this is particular need, and this is churn associated with, because eventually everyone churns. Everyone at the end, they dropped out, right? Either so for whatever product we use, we drop out at some point. So this guy needs to realize, okay, what's going on with my product? Okay, is this product that solves particular problem during particular time, and then they need to adjust their acquisition strategy to work or not to work with this kind of product. And I mean, that's how it is. I think it's just life. There's nothing to be worried about. It just needs there's some reality that needs to be internalized and some decisions to be made from there.
Hey. Well, thank you very much for that. A quick reminder, because I can see my phone and desktop flashing. We are unable to monitor your questions live if you're following us via our live streams, whether that's LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. So if you do have any questions for us, please do join us here live on Microsoft Teams. It's audio only, and it's very easy to join. All you have to do is go to our website, startup2scaleup.club, click on today's session, which is Startup Product and Tech Q&A 154. Click join. It's a quick registration that gets you a link to your email, and then through that link you'll be able to join us here. For those of you that are here already and will join us shortly, the best way to, well, the only way to ask questions is to drop them in the chat. I'll then give you the mic and you can ask the team. There literally are no wrong questions, and there's no need to be shy. It's a learning curve for us all, and your questions could be on anything to do with product and tech, whether that's product roadmaps, design, prototypes, testing, low to no code, apps, landing pages, tech debts, launching your MVP, and anything else in between or beyond for that matter. All you have to do is literally just drop your question in the chat. We're only going to be here for the next 33 minutes. My advice would be not to leave it for last second, because then simply we run out of time. In terms of questions on other matters, please save them for the other events we run. On Mondays is talent, Tuesdays product and tech, Wednesdays growth, Thursdays fundraising, second Friday of each month is UK startup law, and third Friday of each month is UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any of them via our site, startup2scaleup.club. And actually, when you're there, why not join our WhatsApp community? We've got groups of founders, investors, and operators. We'll now go on to another question. This is a bit more product too. As a founder from Manchester with a Series A funded EdTech startup, we're building a platform for remote learning tailored to neurodivergent students. My team has great ideas, but no clear alignment on vision or roadmap. So we're all pulling in different directions. How do I clarify and communicate a product vision that unifies them? And how can we determine which features to prioritize first? Before I pass you on to my panelists, one thing, and I've seen this unfortunately quite a bit, and that is that once a startup has put a product out there, they're making some money, they manage to raise some money, and then they try and kind of expand, and everyone there becomes innovation chiefs and they try and do everything. So I've seen this happen quite a bit, but tell you what, let's hear it from the experts first. So let's start with Mary. You've got your hand up, Mary. Then we can go to Mario, and then we'll go on to Simon.
The first thing I want to say is I love the sound of this. I'm neurodiverse myself. I'm autistic and ADHD, and so one of the first things I would suggest is that you should zoom in on an area of neurodivergence first, because I think that will size your feature list, and help the team in being able to understand in depth more what the user needs are. And then the other thing that I've seen work really well is a now, next, later, or it's sometimes called ice, water, steam approach to roadmap. So ice is the nearest stuff. It's the most solid and clear and articulated. Then water are things that you've started to investigate and to do discovery on. Steam is the sort of much later, just grab the ideas and get them down, because sometimes what your team needs is to see that their ideas are being captured somewhere and that it won't not happen if they don't immediately work on it. And so at least getting some sort of now, next, later structure into place. And then my other suggestion, as I said, would be to focus on a particular area, whether that's ADHD or autism or bipolar, or wherever you think the biggest initial need is, because the needs of those communities are quite different. And I think you probably want to pick one and start there, and then expand later to others, rather than have everybody trying to do the thing that matters most to them personally. I hope that's helpful.
Absolutely agree with that. And as the father of an autistic son, one of the things I've learned is that when you've met one autistic person, you have met one autistic person. So it can be quite tricky, but that's why you should try and be as niche as you possibly can. Simon or Mario, whichever of you wants to go first.
I'll go. Again, also kind of ticks the box for me, being on the edge of the spectrum. The other thing that strikes me, I mean, I agree with everything Mary said. I mean, there's a large group benefit on focusing down onto specific deliverables, but it also sounds here that there is a lack of leadership from a technical perspective and a product perspective in this team. And you need a person who's going to take ownership of that and who's going to make the case, and in fact make the decision as what's coming next. Helped by a process like the now, next, later. I love the ice, water, steam analogy. But someone needs to step up and say, this is where we're going and this is why we're doing it, and that involves what is this, what are we servicing with a specific functionality, and how does this get us closer? This is how it's going to get us closer to delivering on that vision.
That's Mario.
Okay, so I'm not sure why, but a lot of teams think companies are not democracies, right? And I don't think companies necessarily need to run on consensus model or need to run like not everyone has a say about where are we going, right? Everyone can have opinion for sure, but one of the most dysfunctional teams that I've been part of encourage this level of all voices needs to be heard and include and into what we're gonna do, right? And it's a lot if company has one guy with a vision, but having 5 guys with a vision, that's just too much, right? So in my perspective, it's great that teams have ideas, and we need to encourage team to have ideas. But if you talk about development teams, they can have their opinion on product, but purpose of technical team is to deliver whatever vision is there, right? So it's like if you make like iPhone analogy, then it's not developer or like, let's say, engineer. They say like, oh, listen, let's build this type of screen or that type of screen, So it's kind of to deliver what was the vision from the top guy, right? So in that sense, I think this, as mentioned, this team lacks some sort of vision. What are they doing? Where are they going? And without that vision, no product can succeed. So we need. I think that in small teams, this is almost always founder's job. It's founder's job to because they know that specific need of the market. They kind of understand what problem they're trying to solve, and they have that kind of, and they should have that hunch about what they're doing. And it's their role then to communicate to the rest of the guys, and then the team can have their own ideas, their own improvements, their own opinions, or they even disagree and say, well, listen, we cannot build that because that doesn't make sense to build because of X, Y, Z, right? And it's all healthy conversation to have. But everyone having opinion on where we're going, well, not opinion, but everyone pushing into different directions is just ridiculous, and we need to drop that idea that companies are not democracies. They're more like monarchies, right? So, and they're just how it is, right? And we shouldn't pretend that everyone has equal say into what next thing will be built or what next thing will be done. So, but just by how this question is framed, the team has a lot of great ideas, but what are we doing, right? So, well, ideas are cheap. Everyone has good ideas. So that's but like having, not everyone has ideas that you can build in time, that you can sell in time, and that someone will actually, want to use. So then you realize that you don't have that many amazing ideas in your backlog. That's my take on it, at least.
All right, that's an interesting take. Although there are schools of thoughts on both sides, i.e., that you surround yourself with people that you believe are good and better than you at something, perhaps, and that's why you give them the freedom and you pay them the money to do that. And then it's also that sort of almost micromanagement reign supreme, and there are companies that do that very well too.
I mean, but is it really, is it really, developers they can have opinion on design. Let's say there's a new page, and the developer can say, oh, like this looks ugly, right? And it's fair enough. But is that opinion as valid as opinion of design that you're paying to build that page, right? Or opinion on product owner that say, like, listen, we need to build this because we have some, idea where we're going, right? So not everyone, same way, like I cannot, if founder comes to me and say, listen, why are we spending so much on infrastructure, right? I can say, like, okay, I appreciate you're paying the money. It's your money, right? And, I appreciate the concern, but how do you know what is a lot of money, right? Because maybe this is super cheap comparing to what we need to run, right? So, like, I'm trying to say, not everyone's opinion matters the same on all topics, and that's very important conversation to have, right? I have a lot of opinions on design, but I have zero talent on it. So, like, my opinion on design is, very, very limited value, right? So that's what's important to
I'd echo
kind
that.
of understand.
I'd echo that. I mean, I worked as a CTO in an advertising agency. And the lesson I learned is I can recognize what good advertising is, but hell no, can I create it? Stay the hell away from it. I think the takeaway here is that someone needs to make a decision and someone needs to lead. It's not about micromanagement. It's not about everyone having a say. It's about, and I think the founder is the one, or whoever they appoint to be the head of the direction of the product, and they determine it and they move. And business is not a democracy. You put your idea down. You know that it may get looked at some point in time, but we have a direction and we need to go this way, and you live and die by making the decision and seeing it through.
Interesting. Anything else to chime into this, Miriam, or shall we move on to the next one?
I think we move on to the next one.
Good stuff. Pranav, I've just unmuted you, so I've given you the mic. Are you audible? Would you like to try? You've asked a question in the chat, Pranav. That's why I gave you the mic. If you would like to unmute and ask our panelist. Okay, not able to mute. Let me see if I can make you a presenter. That normally tends to solve the issue for people that join through certain platforms like Pranav, you should be able to talk now if you like to try. Indeed. Go for it.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm Pranav and I'm from India. I am working on a platform where students get to connect with each other. I would say it's a LinkedIn-like platform, but for school children to network with. And I do have a non-functioning prototype screens with me, but I haven't really started working on with the functional MVP. Would you suggest me to first do some surveys, get some tractions, have a good set of user base in the hand, and then start developing the product? Or you want me to first develop the product and then show this to people saying that, hey, this is what I'm building, this is how it looks like? Would you be interested in it? Because my target audiences are school children, and school children, you can cover the way where they see it visually instead of listening to it. So I thought if I have the product with me and I can really show them how it works, and then they say that it's beautiful, I would like to be in it. I'm in the state of confusion where if I do this or that.
That makes sense. Thank you very much, Pranav. And Pranav, can I just quickly clarify, what is it exactly that you want to do with that platform? What is it these children will be doing?
They get to learn, collaborate, and connect with their mentors and peers in a very meaningful way. They get to know what's the
Okay.
education outside the classroom. Yeah.
I hear you. Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
will pass it on to the experts, but I'll give you my quick 2 pence. You should absolutely not spend a single penny until you have spoken to enough people, children, teachers, and their parents. And actually, I will go further. You should not spend a single penny building anything apart from maybe a design or a Figma until you have, I don't know, at least 100 or a few hundred people that have signed up either on a WhatsApp group or a landing page. But let's see what the
Right.
experts got to say. Let's start with, I think Mario is unmuted. So we can start with Mario, then Mary, and then Simon, please.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of tricky, right? So I would just repeat what you said. Show them designs, see how it feels like, and then go for it. But like talking with getting those users to test it, to see it, it's not going to be small task and small feat, right? And also like interpreting, especially with kids, like interpreting their feedback in a way that's useful, that makes sense. It's also it's not going to be trivial. And furthermore, whoever is going to be using it, it's not going to be kids. Platform adoption will be coming from teachers, right? Not from kids directly. So maybe those it's them who's going to be testing this solution and then kind of imposing them in the classroom. Or I'm not sure how you what you have in mind there.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but don't you feel that teachers are going to have a sort of dominance in this? Because my platform is mainly for school children. And instead of approaching the parents, if I go for the teachers, won't they own a sort of dominance saying that if I'm not here, you're nothing?
No, not at all. If teachers see, and I'm saying this as somebody who's got a few teachers in the family, if teachers see that something is useful for their pupils, 99% of the time they will be very happy for those children to use those tools. Sorry, did somebody else want to chime in, Mary or something?
I mean, I would only say you can make something that's slightly more interactive than screens, and test it out that way. That'd be a great starting point. Figma can probably you can probably use that to do it, but you're going to get to a point where you're frustrated that you're not getting any new feedback, and that's probably the point at which you need to look at building something very simple to get you started down the road. Whether that number is 50, 100, 150, Anton was referring to, you do need to do the research. You need to get it done across the different stakeholders that are going to use it. But at some point, you'll have to build.
Right. At the same time, right now, my current situation is where that I've approached around 4 schools over here in the city. Uh, Last month, I've taken up a survey form with me saying that this is what I'm doing. Is this what you wanted? And those schools filled it and they were like, hell yeah, bring it on. We are open to try something like this. And right now, there's a school called Baldwin Boys, and they have given me an opportunity to organize an ideathon on behalf of my startup in front of 500 students. So what I'm trying to do is I wanted to kind of promote my startup as well as promote the ideathon in front of the students. But when during that event, the students are going to ask me, what are you building? I say Sparklight, and they say, show it out. I have nothing to show. What do I do at that time? You wanted me
That's
to
why
show
that
something?
that that that's where a
Yeah,
Figma or a design comes in, Pranav. That's why you write a product roadmap or a canvas maybe, but you definitely can do that with a Figma and say, this is what we're working on, and
exactly.
these are the designs. You don't have to start spending money on development, because one thing I see this happening all the time, a lot of founders think they've got a solution uh, to a problem, but more often than not, it's a solution that they've invented rather than a real problem, right? And it may be novel, it may be great, but the thing is, they start spending money on building it, and then they soon realize that they can't do anymore, and they've spent XYZ amount of money, they've got no runway, and they can't raise any money. And next thing you know, they've spent the last 8 months telling everybody that they're a startup founder to whatever platform or whatever you want to call it, right? And they've done nothing. So that's why it is advisable to actually talk to people, get their buy-in, and then start doing something. Mary, what are your thoughts on this?
I think you always want to have the smallest possible amount of design or development. And then the other bit of advice I'd give is doing user research with kids is particularly challenging. I would try to find someone who's good at user research, who's got experience and can give you some advice on how best to do it. Because I think that it's very easy to accidentally bias, especially if you're talking with kids. The other thing that's true is that you're always going to have a difference in feedback based on how high fidelity what you show them is. So if you show somebody sketches, they're much more likely to give you feedback on the ideas. If you show somebody something that looks finished, they're going to give you feedback on the exactly where the buttons are and what they're called, and they give you a very different level of feedback. And so figure out what you want right now. If what you want is feedback on the ideas, sometimes
Yeah,
showing something which is more of a sketch and or like a cartoon almost, that can get you better feedback than if you had something that looks much more high fidelity, but actually you haven't put as much thought into it, and so they're giving you feedback on the details that might not be as relevant as feedback on the ideas.
got it. Got it. And how many users are ideal to start building the product?
I mean, I think that's a how long is a piece of string kind of question.
Yeah.
I think you want a reasonable number, but what reasonable looks like, maybe that's a classroom full, maybe that's 2 classroom fulls. It depends on exactly what you're building and how you're building it. Like, how much interaction do you think these kids would have to have with each other to be successful is probably one of the questions. And then you want to have a big enough group that level of interaction is feasible. So if they need to interact with 10 people, you don't want there to only be 10 users, because not everybody's going to be a super active user. You want to have 50 users. So I think it's a little bit about what the interaction metrics are going to look like, and how much is going to feel too big and how much is going to feel just right.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Thank you very much, Pranav, and best of luck with your venture. I hope
Thank
it
you so
goes
much.
well.
Hey,
Right, so
that's
we've got 11 minutes to go, so perhaps we can take these 2 questions quickly. For those of you that are on the live streams or here, if you do want to ask any questions, please either join us here on Microsoft Teams if you're on the live streams. Quickest way to do that is via our site, startup2scaleup.club. Go to today's session, which is Startup Product and Tech Q&A 154. Click join. Quick registration will get you here. If you're here already, like Pranav just did, you type your question in the chat, then we give you the mic and you can ask the team. So the next question is, as a founder from Manchester with a Series A funded EdTech startup, we're building a platform for remote learning. Oh, no, sorry, we've gone through that, my bad. Right, EdTech founder, Oxford pre-seed university professor background. Our startup provides a platform for students to get feedback on their essays from AI-powered tools. How do we decide between using open source AI models or partnering with an AI company? What considerations should we keep in mind for scalability, and how do we maintain control over our intellectual property when integrating external AI? That's an interesting one. Let me start with this let's start with Mary, then Simon, and then Mario, please.
Sure. So I think if you want to maintain control, you're much better opting for open source models. They've improved massively in recent months. You can do a huge amount with them. Now, the downside of that is that you need more technical staff in order to do that well. And so you could start with just using a model over an API as a fast way of getting going, and see if that's good enough for now, safe enough to try. But from a scalability point of view, your costs are just going to increase the more that it's used. And so I think from a long-term scalability and intellectual property point of view, the open source options hosted by yourselves in the cloud are probably a better bet. But it's going to be quite a lot of startup costs to get to that point. So it depends a little bit on how your funding looks, whether you can afford those technical staff, or whether you should, get started with a over an API option, and then develop further towards the open source option as time goes by. You do run some risk of intellectual property leakage by using the APIs, but you can go through the legal agreements with a fine-tooth comb and potentially prevent that by getting the right things into the legal agreements. A lot of companies don't want their information sucked into the models these days, and so certainly ChatGPT and Anthropic and similar have all gotten better about not taking your data as part of using their models. I hope that helps.
That's a very good point. And if I may quickly just reiterate that, unless you've got the funds and you've got plenty of that, might be worth to just prove that concept and do it through others. But obviously, make sure that you can kind of keep track of what happens to your IP. And of course, that, like Mary mentioned, that depends on what kind of IP you have. If you've come up with some, I don't know, the cure to making somebody extra smart within seconds, then yeah, you want to do that yourself. But if it's nothing too scientific and too grand, then it might be worth to just get proof of concept that way. I think we said
me next.
Okay, we've got Simon, go ahead.
I think both of you stole my thunder. I'm literally following on from here. I was going to say you need to be very well funded. I'd add basically to say find yourself someone who's good at the architecture of this kind of thing, who can break down and give you a roadmap of how you might get to running this yourself properly and how you might use the funds to get there. Mary's 100% correct. Use the go via an API first, test it, and see which one works best, and then you're going to have to look at implementing the infrastructure for yourself, and you'll need to know that you can pay for it.
Mr. Tomic.
Yeah, sure. I mean, when I hear scaling and people paying money to solve scaling issues for them, but the problem is we rarely have them, right? I need more companies with scaling issues, right? When I hear founder, oh, we have scaling issue, like how are we gonna solve our future scaling problem? Oh my God, what is gonna be when we have millions of users? Like, okay, let's chill a bit, right? So this question, in my opinion, shows that founder kind of lost the lost how you say it, lost the focus a bit, right? So I don't think there's a lot of valuable, or maybe there's some valuable stuff in student essays. I'm sure there is, right? But I don't think it should be a worry right now, and millions of users and scale shouldn't be a worry at all. Only use case for open source model is if you want to have very specific model, they're doing very specific thing that, that so you can get it cheaper and faster than what you can get from generic, open AIs and Googles and Anthropics and so on. And that's very specific, product need. Okay, we need to do something that is super slow or super expensive on open source. And that's the only reason why company in this stage, judging by this question, should even consider going through all that drama of setting up their own models and their own infrastructure for it. And when it comes to scaling, again, like let's cross that bridge. And there's going to be on this call probably at least 3 people willing to, or more, willing to help you solve that problem and able to solve that problem. So let's not worry about problems, because the art of getting there in the startup oftentimes is just kicking the problem down the road and just survive the next round, the next month, the next year, and just make it stay in the game, basically, right? So just solving problems that you don't have, you cannot afford. That's my take on it.
That's a good one. Thank you very much, Mario. We have 4 minutes to go on to our next question. But we'll try and do this quickly, please, team. Let's keep it to a minute each. And this time I'll shut up. So I'm one of 3 co-founders at a travel tech startup in Bristol that aggregates booking information. We're experiencing latency issues as more users access our platform simultaneously. We want to improve load handling, but also need flexibility to scale down in off-peak seasons. Could you advise on setting up a scalable cloud infrastructure that dynamically adjusts and remains cost-effective year-round? Very technical, so we can start with, I think Simon's unmuted, so Simon, Mary, and then Mario again.
I honestly don't think that's a topic to be discussed on a call like this. You've got various cloud providers. We don't know which one your tech stack is going to be compatible with. I'd say get in touch and do some consulting work.
Good one, Mario. Sorry, Mary instead, rather. Sorry,
Yeah.
Mary.
I mean, I'd echo that. It's quite difficult to give good advice without having more detail. But this is what the cloud is good at: is scaling up and scaling down as needed. It depends a little bit, as Simon said, on what you've built it in and whether you're in Docker or Kubernetes or something else. It depends what your current cloud provider is as to where best to go. But you should be able to horizontally and vertically scale in any of the cloud providers fairly easily. The other thing to think about is your load balancing. But again, you probably need someone who's more of a DevOps SRE kind of skill set in order to do this well, whether that's somebody that you hire permanently or you get involved with one of the many consultancies that can help with this kind of thing. Scale Factory are a great example of an organization that I've heard good things about if you want a pointer in the right direction.
John is a very smart guy.
Thank you very much for that. Last but not least, Mario.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's quite basic problem, right? So I think we covered it. So if whatever stack they're running, if they just go on Google and put up expert in whatever stack they're using, and pay them for like 1-2 days of work to just review the stack and tell them the problem, they're probably gonna come up with some sort of solution that or approach that makes sense. And now the question is like how to execute it, what time it will take, what skeletons they already have in the closet that need to be addressed and so on, right? But this is just a day in a life, I would say, problem.
Thank you very much. And I'll quickly add here, what I would do in this case is, well, one, obviously, check with the cloud companies, because a lot of them have some good expertise and account managers that are willing to go the extra mile for you to join them. So a lot of them do some good work out there. Number two, it's in case you haven't got it, which I'm assuming you haven't, find a fractional CTO, get somebody that you can pay 1 day per month to help you with your vision and strategy, but get somebody who's not just a coach or guru or thought leader or whatever weird thing that they call themselves. Get somebody who's operational and who's working with you once a month at least to help you with this. If you can't afford that, then I guess you're kind of stuck. But at the same time, you might then have to use your persuasive skills or skills of persuasion and find a advisor that joins you for perhaps 0.5% equity to give you some advice a couple of hours a month on your IT. And that's all I could say. Now, some quick parting words. Perhaps we can start with the lady of the house, then go to Simon, then go to Mario. Mary?
I mean, I'm actually non-binary, but I'm fine to be jump in. No worries at all.
I'm sorry.
No problem. It's easy to happen. Just that, you know, I think everybody today has been asking really good questions that are really about minimum viable product. So remember to do as little as possible to validate your hypotheses, to figure out where the opportunity is for your customers, and only start building after you've got that.
Thank you very much, Simon.
I would only add to say, make sure that you get hold of some technical direction, someone who can guide you down the path.
Good one. Last but not least, Mario, please. Mario, can you hear us?
I think we might have lost Mario. Doesn't seem to be online still.
I think we might have. Well, thank you very much to everyone that tuned in today, especially those that were here on Microsoft Teams and asked questions, but obviously very grateful to my three panelists, Mary, Simon, and Mario. Really appreciate your input today. Just a couple of things before my parting words. Number one, we run 6 regular sessions: Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, Thursday's fundraising. Second Friday of each month, it's UK startup law, and third Friday of each month, it's UK startup finances. There, all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any of them via our site startup2scaleup.club. When you're there, actually, you might also want to join our WhatsApp community. We've got groups of founders, investors, and operators. And the only difference is that next week, because we're working with London Tech Week and we are going to be official fringe events, we'll host all the events we do in 1 week. So Monday to Thursday, it's the same as always. Friday, we'll have the legal event at 11 a.m. and the finances event at 2 p.m. That is the only change, and you can join us via there. And if you haven't gotten your London Tech Week ticket yet, you should go and get it. I believe there's still some free ones, and London Tech Week is basically the UK's most influential event on startups and tech. So hopefully we'll see some of you there. In terms of my parting words, just remember the startup journey can be both exciting but also quite challenging. So try to have some fun in the meantime and be kind to yourself and everyone else for that matter too. Otherwise, huge thanks again. Have a great day, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow for Startup Growth. We've got an amazing team of growth experts. That's at 12 to 1 p.m. Thanks again, and God bless. Bye-bye for now.